Despite being drafted as a consensus first-round pick in fantasy football this year, Tyreek Hill is averaging 11.1 points per game on the year and hasn't gone over 14 points since week 1. We're going to take a look at the film and advanced stats to see if Tyreek's a great buy low candidate or he's done for the year and he will continue to be one of the biggest busts of this fantasy football season. Historically, Tyreek has dominated fantasy football because he has these monster weeks where he's scoring long touchdowns, he's making big plays, and we've seen that with him and Tua before in his career, but we've yet to really see it in these last 3 weeks. We are going to be looking at only weeks 8 through 10 because the other weeks, obviously week 1, he was great as well. I will acknowledge that for his upside, but this is the most relevant and this is the best opportunity we're going to get to see him on film to project out the rest of his season. So here, it's going to be a pretty simple stop and go for Hill. This is a play that he's able to run very efficiently throughout his career, does a good job. Number 5 comes down, and Tyreek still shows great speed here. He's open, and that's just a missed ball by Tua. He puts it behind him. They're not going to call it complete because he led Tyreek out of bounds, and that's just very unfortunate. Right there, great route by Tyreek. Didn't show any signs of the speed not being there. Fantastic route. But Tua, man, those plays he needs to be able to hit. This is just going to be a straight go. We've seen this a million times in Tyreek's career, especially with the Dolphins. And what's going to happen here is he beats his man, right? Great release. Just runs by him through the outside. He's faster than him. Now, you'll see he doesn't actually have the most separation in the world. So it's not a fantastic route, but he's clearly open. If that ball is thrown over his shoulder, that's a monster touchdown right here, and it's just not even close. Abysmal throw by Tua, and I don't want to sound like I'm hating on Tua. I was a really big fan on him, but these are just throws that he cannot miss when he has an elite speed demon receiver, and when he doesn't hit these throws, that's also going to discourage the Dolphins and Mike McDaniels to call these plays over and over, which unfortunately is what makes Tyreek so great. If he's not getting these plays called because they're not getting completed by Tua, that's not necessarily his fault, but it's definitely going to bring his value in fantasy football and his stock and his ability to score points down a ton. So the last kind of this go route section is going to be close to the end zone, but he definitely has his man. It's man coverage, he's getting pressed, and he tries to get to the end zone. It's a complete one-on-one. He has the space. Tua just needs to put the ball in Tyreek's hands, and Tyreek needs to win this route. Now, he does a good job. He has the space. Again, you can definitely see signs where Tyreek's not getting as much separation as he would have liked before in his career, but he has the space here. You put this ball in the back of the end zone, you loft it over Tyreek's shoulder, and that's going to be a touchdown. That's going to be 6 points. But it's just out of his reach, and that's all of the deep throws or potential touchdowns that we have in weeks 8 through 10. 0 of them were caught, and also 0 of them were Tyreek's fault. These were all on Tua. Before we get too far into the film, I want to take a look at Tyreek's PFF grades, especially from week 8 through 10, and in those weeks, while so far he hasn't looked amazing, the PFF grades say that he's been a good wide receiver, but not a great wide receiver. As you can see in week 1, he had a grade of 80.2. That is fantastic. That's near one of the best grades in the NFL. That is elite. Obviously, not a whole bunch of good weeks without Tua to be expected, but since then, he hasn't really improved that much. He's in the 70-ish mark, and the film evaluators from PFF are kind of seeing that Hill is slowing down from that type of elite production he was having in week 1 and all of last year. Now, this shouldn't be the most surprising thing in the world, as Tyreek is 30 years old who relies on his speed. There's no exact number that we can put a tag on and say, oh, his speed or his 40-yard dash has gotten increasingly slower. There's no real numbers there. The GPS is a little flawed as well, just because not all of those stats are recorded the same. But it seems like a lot of film watchers, besides myself, it looks like Tyreek isn't the same player that he once was. Now, it's not to say he's not a good wide receiver and there's other issues, but you also see, let's scroll over to some more advanced stats, he's being utilized more in the slot than ever. 50% is the highest of his career, and they're trying to get him the ball. And even with him getting the ball closer to the line of scrimmage, one, he's not really producing a ton of big plays, as we'll see in the film. And on top of that, he's not getting those deep routes when he's in the slot more times than not. He's not winning on the outside. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. The same thing for his ADOT. It was great. He had a really high ADOT in these weeks without Tua, which is kind of him just trying to run free. But recently, 12.2, 15.6, 4.3. Typically, he's hovering around 11.5 in his prime season. You'll see 11.3, 12.7, 11, 13.4. So not a big deal there. It seems like the biggest takeaway is they're using him more in the slot, trying to get him the ball near the line of scrimmage and not letting him win on the outside, which he's done so many times in his career. And that's definitely been having a big impact on his fantasy points. So here you have Tyreek lined up at the top of your screen. He's going to motion around here and leak out. Now, as we just saw in the PFF grades, Tyreek has been used in motion and in the slot a ton. This isn't the slot per se, but it's definitely going to be that closer, get him the ball type of play. And here, he's not really able to do too much with it. Again, I don't think there was really anything wrong with the play. I don't love the play design, especially right. So here, top of your screen, we're going to transition over to some more of these shorter passes. We saw Tyreek was being used in the slot a lot in that PFF graph, but that's going to be a leak out right here. And we want to see what they're doing to get Tyreek the ball and what he's doing when he has the ball. So here, motion out, good job. They get Tyreek in space. It's just not a great turn up field by him or a great throw. He has the ability to turn up field and potentially get around these defenders. And it seems like it's a little bit on Tyreek for just not bursting up the field fast enough, and a little bit on Tua for not giving him a ball where he has it in stride and he's able to get around the corner. But he does absolutely nothing with that. Tyreek kind of lost his balance as well. Just not a great play all around. Here's what you love to see. Tyreek crouching down, gonna leak him out and sit him down to the top of your screen. These are the type of plays that we love to see from the Dolphins. You get Tyreek in motion, you get him moving around, you hit him immediately. This is a fantastic throw. If we see more of this on film, that's going to drastically change things. But unfortunately not. Obviously, I already watched through this film. It's going to be a rare commodity where we see these kind of plays by Tyreek. I do just want to take a quick break to let you guys know that you can now request a film breakdown to be done on this YouTube channel. All you have to do is become an FTR member. The link for that will be in the description and the comments. Sign up, join the highest tier, you get one per month, and you can request a film breakdown, someone on your fantasy team, someone on your favorite team, for us to do, post on the channel. We also have a few other tiers below this with some other cool perks, but that's the main thing we're offering right now. Again, you can now request a film breakdown of your choice. If you want to support us, this is a great way. Let's get right back into the video. Yet another creative motion for Tyreek right here. He's going to be lined up at the bottom of your screen, come back in the backfield, and kind of run just a little screen route here. They're getting him the ball in space and seeing what he can do. So Tyreek gets back, gets set, and it's a good formation. I like this a lot. Gets him the ball. He has enough blockers, you can see right here. He has set up in front of him. You have these two defenders getting blocked by these two linemen, and you have space here. There's more than enough room for Tyreek to make a play if he's able to take the correct angles, if he's able to turn on the jets. But he kind of just misses the hole. He doesn't feel like he can get around here. He tries to cut back. And if this was really the same Tyreek we're used to seeing, I do believe that he would burst through this hole and get a massive play from this. Instead, he kind of just slows down, kind of tries to be a little patient runner. That's not the player he is. And this really goes nowhere. That is really the first time we've seen it on this film of Tyreek kind of slowing down and aging. Yet another screen, and this is really going to go back to the point I was just making. He's going to run upfield, come back, and get a screen with room to run. And we'll see the blocking. The blocking's not bad at all. Little motion out, comes here. He has all these guys in front of him. You see linemen out here blocking this man. You see a lineman here. You see this player coming into the middle that can block here. and you see two players getting sealed at the bottom. So he has numbers. If he's able to make a quick burst into a hole, he could definitely pick up a massive play. But again, he kind of runs into someone. He tries to spin off, and there's nothing there. Obviously, when you see it, it's like, okay, you could say it's not his fault. It's not necessarily about what he did wrong, just to clarify this. It's about what he didn't do. It's not like he missed an obvious hole or there was it was such an easy touchdown that he missed. But these are the kind of plays where Tyreek was able to turn just a little bit of space into a massive play. He was able to turn good enough blocking into big plays. And that's why he was a first-round pick. It's not like these are bad plays. These are 4 or 5 yard gains, solid plays for any NFL wide receiver. But the thing is, we're not drafting Tyreek as any NFL wide receiver. That's not how we're used to him playing. He's not really looking like that elite superstar, and he's just looking like a solid, good receiver, which is not what, again, most people think of Tyreek Hill as. Here's another motion near the goal line. Again, it's great they're trying to get him involved. I do like the idea, but the execution by Tua is honestly just done pretty poorly. As soon as he sees Tyreek has this man beat, this should be a ball leading him. Tyreek catches it here. All he has to do is beat Budda Baker to the end zone. But what's going to happen? Tua wants to make sure he holds onto the ball too long, waits for Budda to come down, and Tyreek never stands a chance. This one's not Tyreek, but Tua has just visibly been very unimpressive. All throughout this film, I've just been kind of critiquing Tua. I haven't really said anything good about his throws, and I don't mean to crap on the guy. I love Tua, but he's looked like a pretty bad quarterback, which directly impacts Tyreek Hill. This is a great play design by Mike McDaniel. You're going to have Tyreek leak out into the end zone at the 1 yard line, get him the ball. Fantastic play here. It's not like I'm saying that you're never going to see Tyreek. There's definitely flashes of him being great. Definitely flashes of the Dolphins looking great. And this is a fantastic play, fantastic catch by Tyreek, just kind of sitting down and collecting his touchdown here, which he was unable to do in any of the other 2 games. But it's not really the most impressive play either for Tyreek to get his first touchdown since essentially week 1. Here we're going to see some close to the line of scrimmage, but it's just how he's being used, and it's going to be a nice simple sit down. We'll see Tyreek is able to beat his man off the line, get to a spot, and haul in that reception. And they're just using him where this is nice and all, but one, it's just a simple route. He doesn't have any chance to make a play with his legs like he's done so many times in his career, utilize his speed, or it's not deep down the field. We want to see and keep track of how often he's being utilized in, 3-4 yard dump offs. This one is a little deeper out the field, but it's really just going to be a slant. You want to get Tyreek running with the ball, and we've seen massive plays produced from this kind of thing earlier in his career. Tyreek gets off the line, is really stuck to by 31 though. He has him on his hip, and he doesn't really have a whole lot of separation here. You can see 31 right on him, swats the ball away pretty easily. Not a very impressive route by Tyreek right there. We've been on a fairly negative spell, so here's going to be a positive light here for Tyreek. It's going to be a crosser. Find him in the middle of the field. Here's what we want to see. It's going to be Tyreek sitting down, getting 5 extra yards after this catch. He's wide open, gets behind these defenders with good speed, gets it, turns upfield, and gets an extra 5, 10, 15 yards almost on the play. He definitely still has the flashes to do that, but we're seeing that that's not really being shown very often. He's not really been utilized in that light ever since Tua came back, and it's a rare commodity at this point. For the last clip, this is really just going to emphasize my last point. It's going to be a similar route. It's kind of a cross between a slant and a crosser. He's going to come around towards the middle of the field and just doesn't really get too much separation even with the running start here. Going to run around his guy, and while it's not a great play design, I absolutely hate this because you'll see at the bottom, you don't even really know if this is for Tyreek or for this receiver right here. He's going to put his hands on it, and even though it probably makes sense for this intended to be for Tyreek deeper down the field, bad play design, doesn't get much separation either. It's just an all-around bad play, and these are the kind of plays that we've seen more of these than the big plays, than the encouraging plays. And I don't really see that. There's not really too many encouraging signs. There's more discouraging signs like this, where it's not great separation from Tyreek, it's a bad throw by Tua, and you're kind of questioning what the Dolphins are doing right now. After watching the film, to give you some actionable advice, Tyreek Hill is definitely not a buy, and honestly, I do believe he's going to be a bust at his current ADP, and he's a sell that if you can get good value for him, I would highly recommend doing so. I would sell him for mid and wide receiver 1 prices because I have him as my wide receiver 13 in my rest of season rankings. I have guys like CeeDee Lamb, Garrett Wilson, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Malik Neighbors, Amon-Ra, and a bunch of other top guys ahead of him still. Hill, I just don't see things getting better. As much as we love to parade Derrick Henry around as a guy that doesn't age, Hill's 30 years old, and it's not really that surprising that a speed demon like him is going to go from an elite receiver to only a good or solid receiver by the time he's 30 years old. The Dolphins don't look very good. The offense, I have questions about their scheming of him. Again, he's not really being used on the outside. And when he is, Tua hasn't looked that great either. He's missed him a bunch of times. In those 3 weeks, I didn't see him get hit on a single deep ball. And I think that will change a little bit. Obviously, I'm not expecting him to catch a single one for the rest of the season. But Tua's not a top 5 or top 10 quarterback when he has those concussion or just concerns with the offense in general. It's a sticky situation that I'm not willing to bet on at this point. So if you guys agree with me or disagree, let me know in the comments. But if you guys did appreciate the time I put in this video and want to support the channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate the support, and I will see you guys in the next one.